The storm was merciless. Freezing winds screamed through the ruined colony, rattling broken windows and driving dust and ice into every crack. Beneath a half-collapsed dome, an alien mother named Rava huddled with her baby, pressing the tiny body close, willing her own warmth to save him. The baby's skin, usually a shimmering gold, had faded to a sickly gray-blue. His breathing was shallow, each exhale softer than the wind. Rava's people, the Varani, had been proud builders, once engineers, and artists who shaped worlds. Now, after the blight and the raiders, only a handful of her kind remained, scattered. And starving on the edge of extinction, Rava rocked back and forth, tears streaking her cheeks. She had wrapped her son in everything she owned, drags, scraps, even her own cloak, but still he grew colder. Lighter, smaller. The emergency beacon she'd triggered days ago still blinked, but no Varani ship would ever come. There were rumors, though, of humans who scavenged the dead places, picking over the ruins for tech and supplies. To her people, humans were little. More than myths, strange, soft, impossibly lucky. Some said they would help you for nothing. Others said they would take what they wanted and leave you to die. But Rava had nothing left to lose. Her voice raw and trembling, she sent a final, desperate message into the night. "Anyone please, my baby? Help, human. Help us." Her cum sputtered and died, the power finally gone. Redent. She clutched her son to her chest, rocking and weeping. As the wind howled and the darkness pressed close, time slipped away. Rava's mind drifted, half mad with grief and hunger. She barely noticed the faint glow that grew against the storm, or the distant crunch of boots on ice. A shape loomed in. The swirling snow, a tall figure in a patched environment suit, human by the look of it. The figure knelt in the broken doorway, scanning the room with wary, cautious eyes. When he saw Rava, he paused. She shrank back, ready for violence. But the human only knelt. Pulling off his gloves to show empty hands, he spoke, voice muffled, but gentle. "I got your signal. My name's Sam. Please, let me help." Rava's tears broke loose anew. She held out her baby with shaking arms, voice breaking. "Please, my son, he's dying. Help us." Sam moved slowly, his eyes full of worry and something Rava had almost forgotten, kindness. He checked the baby's pulse, then his own expression hardened with resolve. "I'm not leaving you," Sam said. "I promise. I'm going to do everything I can." And as the storm raged on, for the first time in days, Rava felt a flicker of hope. Sam wasted no time. He stripped off his outer jacket, wrapping it around the limp bundle of Rava's child. His fingers, though shaking, moved with practice. Urgency. He'd seen frostbite and shock before, just never on a being so fragile and strange. He pressed 2 fingers to the baby's neck, searching for a pulse, and felt a faint, fluttering beat. "It's not gone?" "Not yet." Rava clung to his sleeve, desperate and wild-eyed. "Is he alive?" Her words came out in broken common, laced with the Varani's haunting accent. Sam nodded. "He's alive. But he needs heat. Fast." His eyes swept the ruined dome, searching for anything that could burn. "Is there power anywhere? Fuel?" She shook her head. "Gone. Everything. Gone." Sam set his jaw. He dug through his pack, pulling out an old survival blanket and a portable heater, little more than a stubby cylinder. He set it between Rava and her baby, cranked it to its highest setting, and tucked the blanket around them both. Warmth seeped into the air, fighting the chill, but the baby barely moved. "Come on, little guy," Sam murmured, rubbing the child's tiny hands between his own. "Don't quit on me." Rava watched in silent agony. The storm outside battered the walls as if angry at their small hope. She remembered stories from her childhood, of miracles and monsters, of how only the bravest could survive the long, dark. But now, in this final hour, it was a stranger who stood between her and the end. Sam fished out a vial from his medketta, universal stim. "I don't know if this will help your kind," he warned, "but it's all I've got." With a nod from Rava, he injected a single drop into the child's thin arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the baby shuddered, a weak cry escaping his lips. His small hands grasped blindly at the air. Rava sobbed, holding him close, rocking back and forth as tears of relief streamed down her face. Sam exhaled, shoulders sagging with relief. He's tough, your boy. Like his mom. The baby's skin took on a faint gold glow, the gray slowly receding. His breathing deepened, steady and slow. Rava couldn't stop touching his face, whispering thanks in both Varani and common. She looked at Sam with something between awe and disbelief. Why? She managed. Why help us? Sam shrugged, a tired smile breaking through. Because I can. Because nobody should die alone, not on my watch. Outside the storm raged, but in the broken dome, a tiny, precious warmth grew, spreading from human to alien, and from mother to child. For the first time since the blight, Rava dared to believe they might live to see the sun rise again. But survival on this ruined world was never simple as the storm began to fade. Other dangers crept closer, drawn by the beacon of life. The storm's fury finally spent itself, leaving the world shrouded in a blue-tinged silence. Frost clung to the broken dome's edges, glittering in the weak morning light. Rava sat cross-legged, her son bundled against her chest. His color had almost returned, and he slept now-fitfully, but alive. She traced a trembling finger along, his brow whispering old Varane lullabies. Sam moved about the ruined shelter, clearing debris and stacking anything that might serve as a barricade. Every so often he paused to check on mother and child, relief flashing in his eyes each time he saw the boy's chest rise and fall. When the worst of the cold had passed, Sam unpacked a ration bar and offered half to Rava. She hesitated, Varani, pride and fear wrestling in her heart before accepting. The flavor was strange, but her hunger overpowered hesitation. She nodded her thanks, wiping a tear away as she chewed. I have to ask, Sam said gently, kneeling beside her. How long have you two been alone? Rava's voice was quiet, rough. Since the raiders? They came in the night. Some of us ran, some not so lucky. She drew the child closer. My mate was lost. There's no food, no help, only this little one. I sent the call, but I never thought anyone would come. Sam's expression tightened. Not alone anymore. I'll get you out of here. Out. There's a human outpost 3 days east. Safe, warm food for both of you, but we'll have to move soon. The signal beacon will have drawn attention, maybe not the kind we want. Rava's gaze darkened with understanding. This planet was full of those who preyed on the weak. Desperation made people cruel. She watched as Sam refitted his helmet and checked the charge on his old plasma pistol. He looked tired, haunted by his own ghosts, but determined. For the first time, Rava felt the fragile beginning of trust. Suddenly, the cum unit crackled to life-garbled static, then a burst of harsh metallic voices in a language neither of them recognized. Sam's face went grim. Scavenger packs, he muttered. They'll have seen the storm break. They'll be here before noon. Rava shivered, holding her baby close. We can't run far. He is still weak. Sam crouched in front of her, eyes fierce. Then we don't run. We hide and we fight if we have to. I won't let anyone take you, Rava. Not while I breathe. She met his gaze, hope and fear swirling together. Why? She whispered. He reached out, carefully brushing a tear from her cheek. Because everyone deserves a chance. And because you asked for help. The baby stirred, whimpering softly as the first faint shadows fell across the domen, friendly shapes moving through the ice and ruin. Drawn by the promise of life, Rava held her son tight, heart pounding with terror and the first glimmer of courage. Together, she and the human waited as danger closed in, refusing to surrender to a world built on indifference. Asterisk footsteps crunched in the frost, slow and deliberate. The air inside the ruined dome grew sharp with fear. Rava crouched low, her child hidden beneath the folds of Sam's thick jacket. She could hear the scavengers' guttural voices and the metallic clatter of their gear outside. 5, maybe 6, Hunting for anything alive and unprotected, Sam moved quietly. Signaling Rava to stay behind a broken support pillar, he positioned himself by the shattered entryway, plasma pistol drawn, breath steady despite the danger. Rava's claws trembled as she rocked her baby. Her body tensed to run or fight, she didn't know which. The first scavenger entered, a hulking brute in mismatched armor, rifle raised. He called out in a language neither Rava nor Sam understood. But the tone was unmistakable. Surrender or suffer. Sam stepped into the open, hands raised but gun ready. "This isn't your salvage," he said loudly, voice echoing off the walls. "There's nothing here but survivors. Move on." The brute grinned, revealing rows of metal teeth, and advanced. Two more figures followed, circling Sam, weapons ready. Rava pressed her baby close, whispering prayers to every Varani god she could remember. The standoff held for a heartbeat, then the leader lunged. Sam fired, blue light filling the dome, one shot precise and fast, sending the brute sprawling. The others scattered for cover, firing back in wild arcs. Rava pressed herself over her child as glass and stone exploded around her. Sam ducked behind a broken table, firing again and again, each shot buying precious seconds. For the first time in her life, Rava felt fury kindled beneath her fear, not for herself, but for her child, and for the human risking his life for strangers. One scavenger broke from cover, trying to circle behind Sam. Rava saw him first. Heart pounding, she grabbed a broken metal rod, waited until he passed, then struck with all her strength. The blow rang out, the scavenger collapsing in a heap. Sam caught her eye, surprise and gratitude flickering across his face. "Good work," he called, but more scavengers closed in. Ammunition was running low and there was nowhere left to run. The baby whimpered, the cold creeping back in as the firefight raged on. Desperation made Rava bold. She crawled to Sam's side, pressing her child into the crook of her arm and picking up the fallen scavenger's sidearm. "I fight," she said, voice hoarse but determined. Together, back-to-back human and alien made their stand. The scavengers, sensing the resistance, hesitated. Sam called out, "This is your last chance. Leave now, or none of you will walk away." A long, tense silence followed. Then, slowly, the remaining scavengers retreated, dragging their wounded with them, curses fading into the icy wind. When it was over, the dome was silent again, broken only by the baby's thin cries and the harsh breaths of his protectors. Rava slumped against Sam, exhaustion threatening to pull her under. Sam squeezed her shoulder, offering a tired but genuine smile. "You did it. You saved him and me," Rava wept openly, overwhelmed by relief, gratitude, and disbelief. "You didn't have to stay. You could have run." Sam shook his head, wiping blood from his brow. "You asked for help. That's all I needed." The storm was gone, the scavengers driven off, and hope wounded but alive remained in the heart of the ruined world. As silence settled over the battered dome, Sam slumped against the wall, catching his breath. The adrenaline faded, replaced by aches and exhaustion.
Rava
knelt beside him, her baby finally quiet but clinging to her chest with a grip that felt impossibly strong for something so small and fragile. Sam checked his ammo, nearly spent. He glanced at the hole in his jacket, a fresh burn searing his shoulder, but he only grinned wryly. "Close one. We'll need to move before more come looking." Rava nodded, wiping tears from her cheeks. She glanced at the child color returning, eyelids fluttering as he nestled into her arms. "He lives because of you." She hesitated, then pressed her forehead gently to Sam's shoulder, a gesture of her people. A thank you deeper than words. Sam found a canteen in his pack and offered it. "We'll travel at dawn. It's the outposts, not far, but we'll have to move fast and quiet. Are you strong enough?" Rava nodded, her expression fierce. "For him I am." They gathered what little supplies they could salvage. Food, blankets, one battered medkit, and a map Sam had pulled from an old wreck. Before leaving, Rava said a silent goodbye to the shattered home, so much lost, but something precious saved. The trek across the frozen wasteland was brutal. Wind bit at their faces, snow swallowing their footprints. Rava carried her child beneath her cloak, Sam watching for threats, always walking between them and danger. He told stories, some true, some meant to distract her from the misery. Rava listened, offering shy smiles in return, slowly letting hope take root. When they camped in the shelter of a rocky outcrop, Rava finally found her voice. I have nothing to offer. No home, no kin, no power. Why do you care? Sam stared at the alien sky, stars like scattered glass. I lost people too, he said softly, back on Earth, during the long winter. Maybe I'd still have a family, so I'd try to be the one I needed back then. Rava was quiet for a long time, holding her child close, watching Sam's face in the flickering firelight. She felt the weight of her gratitude, a debt not of obligation, but of trust. By the second day, the outpost's lights shimmered on the horizon, a beacon in the cold. Rava felt her legs trembling with each step, but Sam never let her fall. When at last they reached the gates, the guards hesitated, eyes wary at the sight of a Varani and her child. Sam stood tall, voice hard as steel. They're with me, let them in. After a tense moment, the gates opened. Inside, warm air and the scent of bread wrapped around them like a miracle. Medics hurried to Rava's side, marveling at the child's survival. Sam stayed close. Silent shadow until the medics finally nodded. He'll live. We brought him just in time. Rava let out a long, shuddering breath, tears streaming down her cheeks. She reached for Sam's hand, holding it tight. You saved us. I will never forget. Sam smiled, tired but happy. You don't have to. You're safe now. Both of you. 4. The first time since the world fell apart, Rava allowed herself to believe in tomorrow. The days passed in a gentle blur inside the human outpost. Rava's baby grew stronger under the watchful eyes of the medics, his color returning to a soft, healthy gold. For the first time, Rava could rest her body sinking into a real bed. Her son's quiet breathing beside her in the dark. Sam visited every day, checking on them between his shifts. He always brought little gifts, a slice of sweet bread, a toy carved from scrap, or news from the settlement. At first, Rava found herself shy, uncertain her people had always kept apart. And here she was, dependent on a stranger's kindness. Yet each time Sam sat by her bedside and listened to her halting stories, that wariness faded. She watched as the humans in the outpost welcomed her, some with cautious curiosity, others with smiles and small acts of generosity. A human nurse showed her how to bottle feed her baby, and a child from the settlement pressed a flower into her hand with a giggle. For the first time since the world had fallen apart, Rava laughed softly, but real. One evening, as orange light slanted through the window, Sam lingered longer than usual. Rava saw the weariness in his eyes, the way he carried the pain of old loss, and how her son's laughter made something gentle flicker behind his walls. Why do you come here, Sam? She asked quietly, the baby cradled in her lap. He hesitated, looking at the child, then at her. Because I needed a reason to hope again, after what I lost. It's easy to believe nothing good will ever happen. But then I heard your message. You asked for help. You trusted a human, even after everything. Rava looked down, her voice thick with emotion. I had nothing left but faith. Sam smiled, and for the first time, it reached his eyes. That's more than most people have. She placed her hand over his, her touch trembling but sure. You gave my child life, but you gave me hope too. I don't want to be alone anymore." Sam squeezed her hand gently, a silent promise passing between them. "You're not alone. Not here. Not with me." As the sun set, the baby gurgled and reached for Sam's finger, curling tiny gold fingers around it. The three of them sat together, no longer survivors on opposite sides, but something closer to family. And outside, the outpost's lights shone, bright in the darkness a beacon, not just for Rava and her son, but for anyone who still believed that kindness could change the world. Weeks melted into months. Spring thawed the world outside the outpost, and a fragile new life took root within its walls. Rava's son learned to laugh, to grip Sam's hand and toddle unsteadily across the sunlit courtyard. Each day, Rava watched her child thrive, his golden skin shimmering in the warm light, his eyes bright with wonder and trust. But Rava herself changed too.
Ow.
The wary fear in her eyes faded. She found herself sharing meals with human neighbors, helping with the gardens, learning to speak their language more easily. Stories from her own world mixed with the songs and jokes of her new home, woven together like the beginnings of something beautiful and lasting. Sam never left their side. He became more than a rescuer. He was family now, carrying her son on his shoulders and showing Rava the safe paths through the settlement. People who had once eyed her with suspicion now greeted her by name, bringing small gifts for the child, seeking her quiet strength and advice. One evening, a gathering was held around a great bonfire, the sky alive with stars. Human and Varani children played together in the firelight, laughter echoing across the compound. Sam stood beside Rava, the baby sleeping in her arms, and together they listened as the outpost commander spoke. "Once we were alone here," she said, "but when one voice called out for help and another answered, a new kind of family began. Let that be our legacy, a home where no one's cry goes unanswered, where every child, human or alien, finds warmth and hope." Rava felt tears on her cheeks, but this time they were not for loss. She looked up at Sam and he smiled, promise shining in his eyes. She took his hand, grateful beyond words for the night she found the courage to cry for help and the human who had answered. Her son stirred and looked up at her, then at Sam, babbling softly. In that moment, Rava knew her child would grow up knowing love, acceptance, and a world rebuilt by simple, stubborn kindness. The long winter was over. The world outside would always be hard, but inside their new home, hope had taken root. All because one desperate voice called into the darkness and a human answered, the end.